All right, hi everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Zareen. I'm a manager on the Community Initiatives team at Reddit. I'm so excited to be here today to take you behind the scenes to explore some of our relationship building programs that we have here. We are going to have time for questions at the end, so feel free to go to the stage tab and then the Q&A tab up here to drop any questions that you might have in the chat so that I can find them more easily. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So think back to the last time that you released a product or a feature. Take a second and post in the chat one word about what the reaction was like. Did that reaction look something like this? Or did it look more like this? The difference between these two reactions is the same difference that you might have if somebody bumps into your car in a parking lot accident and then drives away versus your significant other backing into your car in the parking lot. In short, the entire difference between these two reactions is that we don't have a great relationship with this person on the top, but we have a great relationship with this person on the bottom. Today, I'm going to walk you through how we look at fostering relationships with our most active users so that we can get more productive reactions like the one on the bottom and fewer knee-jerk reactions like the one on top. For those of you who might not know, Reddit is a space made up of 100,000 different communities. We have space for people to come together over shared milestones. We have discussions around sports and gaming and support and identity spaces. And of course, we have the cute side of Reddit as well, the dogs and the cats and the memes. Each one of these communities are run by volunteer moderators. You can be a moderator in two ways. You can either create the subreddit, and anybody can do that, or you can volunteer to help out an existing subreddit. Like many moderators over the internet, our moderators curate content in their spaces to ensure on-topic and productive conversations. But they also do a lot more at Reddit. They organize incredible events so that their users can come together over a shared interest. They arrange fun and engaging content for their users to interact with. And of course, they welcome new users to help them find the community and belonging that we want to bring to everyone in the world. Our moderators are incredibly passionate about Reddit and about their communities, and they put their souls into creating these spaces, and it really, really shows. When your user base is as passionate as our mods, if you do something that they don't like or that they don't understand, and if they don't feel that they have a relationship with you or an open avenue of communication, then trust starts to erode, right? That can lead to a feeling of us versus them. This isn't a very fun feeling, and that mentality can lead to protests or mass unrest like this. On the community team at Reddit, we think of trust as a vault. So you can put trust into the vault through making people's lives easier or through transparency, but you can also take trust out of the vault. I want to be clear that taking trust out of this vault is inevitable. No one really likes change, and you're not always going to be able to give the people what they want. Sometimes you need to make a decision for the good of the business that's an unpopular one. However, if you make a decision that erodes trust when your trust vault is full, you're going to have less of a negative impact on your community than if you make that same decision when your vault is empty. So a couple of years ago, we started focusing on building that trust vault back up. And we did that in two ways. Number one is we wanted to improve relationships between Reddit and our moderators to increase trust and give people an avenue to participate. Number two, we wanted to improve our coworkers' understanding of our moderators to build empathy, but most importantly, we wanted to help our coworkers feel more comfortable when they're engaging with our moderators. Okay, let's talk about the first point, which is improving our relationships with our moderators. To tackle this, we built out an ambassador program, which we call the Reddit Moderator Council. In this council, we hold calls and discussion in a private space. Right now, we're holding about 8 to 12 calls, and we do several discussion threads every week. We have a mutual confidential partnership with these people. meaning that we trust them not to share our conversations outside the group, and they trust us to keep the experiences that they're confiding in us private as well. This creates a safe space and allows us to share things with them in very early stages before we are ready to share them publicly. In the group, we discussed the future of Reddit. For example, we did this last June when we updated our content policy. We had a lot of calls with the mods within our councils as well as other relevant subreddits to make sure that we were doing the right thing. And we also preview upcoming product launches like this one. So far, we've seen a lot of success out of this program. We've been running it for nearly 3 years now, and we've seen high satisfaction scores from our moderators. We've had productive conversations, like several of them every single quarter. And we've seen several quality of life improvements become prioritized for our moderators as well. As we've proven out the success of this program, we've seen increased internal interest in communicating with our moderators. Along with that interest comes more internal investment in both mod tooling as well as these programs. I do want to be clear that this is still a work in progress. So we've been doing this for about 3 years, and we've managed to build a lot of trust and see a lot of success internally as well as with the mods in our cohort. And we are now working on making that a vehicle of trust to take out to the rest of the mod community. Okay, so to make our community council program successful, we basically tackled 5 different things. The first one is we chose our participants very intentionally. This was really important because these are the participants that are setting the culture. We're walking a really fine line here in that we don't want the people that are going to love everything we do just because we're Reddit, but we also don't want the people that are super negative and non-constructive, like the people who are going to hate everything we do just because they're Reddit. Instead, we want people who are going to tell us when we're doing things wrong, but also tell us when we're doing things right. That's actually kind of hard to find. I love the screenshot because I think it really exemplifies the tone we're trying to set in our councils. You can see that this post from one of our council members, they aren't super happy with what we're doing. They have some feedback for us, they haven't heard follow up, and they're posting this feedback, right? But in the tone of this post, you can see that they're giving actionable feedback. They're clearly expressing how the feature is impacting them, but they're also calling out what we're doing well. When we take posts like this and show it to other people internally, they see this and they want to help. That's the kind of community culture that we want. No one wants to help if they feel like they're just being attacked in a call. But if we can find the right tone from our community members that we're bringing into the council, then we inspire people internally to build more tooling for our moderators and to fix the problems that they're having. Next on the list is fostering a safe and on-topic environment. We touched on this a little bit earlier with the confidential partnership, but it's very important to set the stage and expectations of the space as well. In the beginning, we had issues of moderators using this as a support channel, which was distracting and just not the point of the program. It became really important to us to outline very clear and public rules of engagement for our community members here. You can see number 2 and 3 were kind of the most important here. We wanted all the topics to be on topic of Reddit and our community councils and the topics that we're discussing in the calls. And we want this not to be a support escalation channel, right? Instead, we have other channels for that are better and faster, and we want to direct all of those kind of discussions to the right channels. So just as important as having these rules is follow through, which is actually pretty hard to do. Whenever somebody comes to post in our council subreddit with a post that violates these rules, we always remove it and we always direct them to the right place to go. And you can do this in calls as well, right? So if somebody tries to bring up an escalation in a call, we can step in and say, hey, thanks for bringing this up. This is an important issue, but this isn't the right avenue for it. Can you take it here instead? I want to be clear that we aren't saying that this issue isn't important, just that it's not appropriate for this channel. And that's why we always redirect them to the right place. Number 3 is to start small and grow slowly. And again, this goes back to setting the culture. About 2.5 years ago or so when we started, the council program looked really different. Instead of just having one council, we actually had several smaller councils centered around different topics. Sports was one of our first councils, and it was actually made up of only 5 to 10 moderators. You can see this number 14 over here actually included some of our admins, our employees as well. And this allowed us to kind of test different things, try out different styles of communication in different groups, and see what worked. As we proved our concept and started to scale, we ended up combining the councils into one, at which point we've been able to grow a little bit faster. So the goal of our next 2 steps is to show our council members that there is a point to them being here and that we respect their time and their opinion. So the next step here is to show them that they matter. We can do this in multiple ways, right? You can send them swag, you can show them consistency in communication, you can be transparent and tell them the why behind your decision making. But one of our favorite things to do is to show them that they matter by providing them access to people at all levels of the organization. So here's an example of a call invite we did to introduce 2 of our new VPs to our mods in a casual and conversational setting. I love this call because it did 2 things. One is it helped our VPs learn about our mods right from the get-go. And 2 is it showed our mods that we valued them as people enough to introduce them to execs pretty much as a part of their onboarding. In addition to calls like these, we also have quarterly exec calls that our CEO and our VP of product always attend, and then our other execs kind of rotate through. Last but not least is to knock out the low-hanging fruit. It's important for us to remember that our council members are gifting us with a ton of emotional labor. We want to show them that when they're giving us their feedback, it's heard, right? They're taking the time to really describe to us in detail how the decisions we're making is impacting their communities and impacting them. So if they give us feedback about something and we agree it's a good idea and it's easy to do, we just do it right away. Here's an example of a product manager following up within 1 week after getting some feedback. I actually really love this example because not only does it show you how we can knock out low-hanging fruit, it also shows our council members that they matter by showing them transparency. In this post, we're able to take them behind the scenes of the process. We're showing them that we can't just wave a magic wand and expect anything to happen. Instead, a lot of thought goes into each change, which is why it takes so long sometimes to happen. This is a really great example. Okay, so there you have it. These are the steps that we have to make our council program a success. And with that, every single one of our product launches is a raging success. Our community is thrilled with every change that we make. No, that's not the case at all. That was a joke. You can see we still have product launches that flop. This just happened 2 months ago and had a 0% upvote rate. And that's not the point of these programs, right? The point isn't that you're going to eliminate frustration or pushback. It's that you're going to turn that frustration into participation over protest. Rather than getting the reactions like, why on earth would you think this would be a good idea? We want more productive feedback like, I don't agree with this decision, here is why, and this is how it's impacting my community. Okay, so I can already feel that some of you don't think that this is going to be work for your company. You're a little bit skeptical, and that's probably because these first 3 steps here are easy enough because you and your team kind of control these. But our next 2 kind of involve other people in the company as well, right? Involving your most active users as stakeholders might matter a lot to you, but how can you show them that they matter if your coworkers or execs are scared to engage? How can you knock out low-hanging fruit if that requires product teams to essentially derail their roadmap? The answer here is that our work isn't really done yet. Okay, so remember this second part, improving our coworkers' understanding of moderators is the next step. In order to do that, we started with a question that you've probably asked yourself as well. How do we tell the rest of the company how amazing and valuable our mods are? Doing this kind of went okay, But the real breakthrough began when we reframed the question. It's not how do we tell them, it's how do we show the rest of the company how amazing and valuable our mods are. With that, the solution became actually pretty easy. We're just going to let them moderate. Simple. So with that in mind, that's kind of how we grew the adopted admin program last summer. The concept of this program really is simple. We just place our admins on a moderator team for a period of 2 weeks, and the moderators themselves train them as they would any new mod on how to run their program. By doing this, we're focusing on building empathy, increasing understanding of what it takes to run a large subreddit, and for our mods, we're giving them a direct line of contact with our admins. In order to make this success, we had 5 main things that we did again. The first one was setting reasonable expectations. Setting expectations is the biggest reason that some of these matches are going to fail. We had to be super important. It was super important to be very clear with our admins exactly what's expected of them. We told them that they should expect to set aside 1 to 2 hours a day, broken up into chunks, to check in on their subreddit. We encourage them to engage with moderators as much as possible. When we ran the first round of this program, one thing that we heard a lot from our employees was that they felt a little bit uncomfortable asking too many questions of our moderators, and et cetera, because they didn't want to be too much of a burden. However, from the mod angle, the whole reason they're signing up for this program, right, is to engage with these admins and have these conversations and really show off their subreddit. So we had to set those expectations and make it clear to them that it was okay and encouraged and in fact expected to engage as much as they could. Second is we were very intentional about choosing our subreddit participants. We obviously never want to throw our admins to the wolves. Instead, we want people to have a good experience. So we would take care to match people with subreddits that are going to take the program really seriously and use this as an opportunity to educate rather than just list out everything that we're doing wrong. Next is to match with intention. Again, we want this to be a great experience for everyone, both our mods and our admins, and that means matching people with mod teams that they're going to get along with. So we took a lot of care to match people with subreddits that match their own interests, that they actually naturally spend a lot of time in. One great example of this was in a gaming subreddit, one of my favorite matches. The gaming subreddit runs a lot of really cool bots that they've built themselves. And these bots are centered around data and predicting when things are going to happen. We were able to find them a match with somebody not only who was a data analyst on our safety team who works with a lot of similar kind of things, but that same admin played that same game, which meant they got along as people and got along in terms of geeking out over all their bots and their shared interests. Next on the list was being supportive and available at all times. A lot of our employees felt like a fish out of water in this program. They've never moderated before, so they're trying something out that they never had before. And they felt a lot of pressure not to screw up for the mods. So this meant that we had to really, really support them and make them feel confident and sure when they're engaging with our mods. So that meant that some of us, I think Susie's in the chat, she and I got on a call at 9 p.m. at night to kind of watch one of our coworkers take their first moderator actions to make them feel comfortable. On the subreddit end, if a subreddit reaches out to us to tell us that they haven't heard from their admin in a couple days, for example, and they're wondering what's going on, we want to make sure that they know that we have their back and that we'll respond immediately so they're not left floundering. Last but not least, again, key to this program is setting reasonable expectations. It's just as important to set expectations for our mods as it is to set expectations for our admins. We had to make it clear to mods that our admins, our coworkers, aren't participating to just come there and fix everything. We also had to be clear that the admins that are participating come from all different departments of the company and might not know about certain things that mods think are obvious. Right, actually, that's the entire reason they're participating in the program, is because they have more they need to learn about what it's like to moderate. And I think we saw more success out of this program than anybody really expected. It was phenomenal. We had the light bulb moments that we were looking for, but we also saw a lot of people coming together to brainstorm how to make our mods' lives easier. We built the empathy that we wanted, and we built amazing relationships between one-to-one relationships between our employees and our mods. And we heard from a lot of people that this was the most educational thing that they've done at Reddit. I think these results were all really awesome, but the really inspirational thing for me was that our mods loved it too. In our last round, we had over 150 subreddits expressing interest across all different types of topics and sizes. The subreddits that participated things like this. You could feel the impact that this program was having on Reddit. They wanted to make sure everyone in the company participated at every level. And you know, our employees enjoyed it so much and were so vocal about how much they enjoyed it, that in our last round that ended last week, we actually had 6 members of our executive team participating, placed on subreddits just like our other coworkers. Our mods had fun socializing with our admins. And I think last but not least, but most importantly, it humanized us. We were no longer admins and mods. We were no longer us versus them. But instead, this program showed both our admins and our moderators that we are all human. We're all working together towards a shared goal of a better Reddit. Okay, I don't want to be super clickbaity and tell you that these 10 steps are going to change your lives. But honestly, I think these 10 things really did change our lives. These programs have been so inspirational to me because through them, I feel like I felt the entire culture of our company shift. I was drawn to Reddit 3 years ago because I could see how much community was valued from the top down. But the thing is, I've learned that there's a big difference between valuing our mods and treating them as stakeholders. And that's the change that we've seen through these programs. Instead of just valuing them, we've started treating them like the stakeholders they've been all along. And that's it. All right, ask me anything. I'm going to move over to this Q&A tab in the stage section and see, okay, what's the name of the Reddit character? That's new. That's our favorite mascot over here. Let's see. Let's see, will we be able to access the deck after this, pretty please? I think we are going to have the presentation available, the recording of it, but not the deck. Okay, how do you measure the impact of these relationship building programs? A couple of things. We run a trust survey to measure how much our moderators trust Reddit across the board. But for these specific programs, we're dealing with mostly on satisfaction. So after every single call, we do send out a survey to our mods asking them how they felt about the call, et cetera. And so we do track that satisfaction. And then we are also going to be measuring things like on the internal end, how much our internal people feel comfortable talking to our community as well. Any other questions over here? I think there might be a little bit of a delay. But yeah. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, then please let me know how this goes for you. You can reach out to me at Zareen at Reddit. I'm happy to talk to you more about this or answer any questions that you might have or just hear how it worked for you. And then, of course, Reddit is growing a lot. We are hiring across the board, so feel free to scan that QR code to see a full breadth of the stuff we are hiring for. Thank you.